if anyone is listening to this and they're thinking about getting sober, you really need to tell the people around you. Like, those people are going to hold you accountable and actually take care of you. They care for you. You just have to tell them that's what you want.
That's right. Have you heard the saying, the opposite of addiction is connection? We at the Addiction Prevention Coalition know that there's truth in that adage. And so we are fighting addiction face to face, conversation by conversation, creating connection. Here at The Shield, our new podcast, no topic is off limits because there are no limits when it comes to substance use disorder. Welcome to The Shield. We are so incredibly excited to be back for our second episode. So this is still building. As some of you might have heard, we've sort of refreshed and rebranded a little bit from the Recovery Cafe, which Carrie Wimberly had hosted for about 2 years. So same types of topics, though, really looking at what makes Birmingham great, specifically as it relates to mental health, substance use, and all the things. And I am so incredibly jazzed to have my friend, Anthony Phillips, on with me today. Welcome.
Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. So we were talking when you first got in here, and I was like, how do you want me to introduce you? Do we say, like, man about town, bartender, like social butterfly? And you said, I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, I just try to be myself. I feel like most days I feel like I'm defined by a lot of the works that I do. So I don't like to really wear those badges a lot. I'm just Anthony.
You're just Anthony.
Yeah.
So I have to back up and say that, when I first moved here, even before that, I'll say, even when I was coming down and visiting, you were like so warm and so kind, and you were like, whatever I can do to help you, I'll do it. And not only did you follow through on that, but you've really kind of hit it gangbusters. So thank you for that.
I mean, I feel like you're doing great work that needs to be done, not just in the city, but nationally and globally. I take the whole addiction and harm prevention very seriously because of my past lifestyles, and I've had friends pass away from that stuff as well. And being in the service industry, it tends to be the norm where you're having a friend pass away every week from either something that happened while they were drinking, or a substance they consumed and overdosed on, or So it really hit home when you told me what you did. So I wanted to help.
So you just said a whole lot there. So let's unpack that. So you are sober from alcohol.
Yes.
Right? And how long have you been sober from alcohol?
Probably about 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And yet you work in the service industry.
Yeah.
You work behind a bar.
Yeah.
How is that hard? I mean, I feel like that would be virtually impossible.
So I feel like at first it was hard, but it's kind of like a sensory overload at some point. Like, you're around it so much that you're just like, oh, it's just another day. I do remember early in my recovery where if I made a rule, if I wasn't paid to be around it, I wasn't going to be around it.
Oh, interesting.
And that for the first 3 months, that's how I did it. If I wasn't being paid to be around alcohol, I just didn't do it. And I would just go home. I would isolate a little bit. But I realized after that, I was like, I probably shouldn't be isolating myself so much. And I started getting back into it. What I loved about service industry, I started not in the service industry. I started painting cars when I was 15 years old.
Whoa. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I co-opted out of high school and went to work half the day, went to high school the rest, and painted cars for 12 years. And what service industry really brought out of me is people were tipping you and paying you basically for your personality.
Right.
And I never felt that before. I was just a hand behind a wall working on a car.
Are you naturally an introvert?
Some days I would say yes, some days I would say no.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard for me to define myself in those manners because there are moments where I feel very introverted, and then there's moments where I need to go out and actually socialize and talk. But then I could go home very easily.
So when you first got sober, and that's how you define it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you first got sober, you were working in the industry, and you realized that there were other people kind of in your same shoes who could benefit from, I mean, for lack of a better word, like a support group.
Yes.
Could you talk me through that a little bit?
Yeah. So,
I mean, the fact that you did this on your own is like mind blowing to me.
well, I saw a need, and I felt like I constantly have this saying run through my head: you have to be the change that you want to see. So I was feeling real isolated one day, real alone, and I felt like I had no one to talk to about being sober in the industry, because all the other people that were sober in the industry are in management positions because they've been in it so long. That's the only way they can.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I thought one day that I was like, hey, I'm going to get in contact with a couple of my buddies who helped me get sober and see if I can't get a group together for people just to come and talk about substance. Because I tried the AA route. It just wasn't for me. I'm not a faith-based recovery. I don't love the concept. So I just started a Facebook group and started saying we have meetings at Saturn every Monday. And it went from one person to 2 people to, I think the biggest meeting we had was like 15. And like, we haven't been able to do it recently because I've got 4 kids and 2 jobs, and she has 2 jobs, and it's actually where I met my wife. And
who is amazing, by the way.
She's literally in the definition of the word. Don't know what I'd do without her. But it's just been real hard to keep it going because it's a very taxing thing to do as well. Because
mentally taxing, physically taxing, you need the time, but
yes,
it's also a lot of mental gymnastics.
Yes, because also what I realized is me opening up this door, it's kind of like a pre-step. It's a pre-step to trying to get into recovery, because I didn't make it mandatory you had to be sober. If you wanted to come and talk about substance, you could. And just maybe getting all those people together in a room could bounce off ideas of how they could manage substance better, or
right,
try to help them get come off. So we got in this like limbo area where people were talking about wanting to come off and be sober, but didn't have the tools to do so.
Right.
And that's where I found my biggest block is like, I can tell you everything that I did to do, and this person can tell you everything that they did, but we don't know if those things would necessarily work for you.
That's right. And that's why I think you and I get along so well, is because we understand that there's not one path. There's not one model. There's not one right way to do it. The journey, the path looks different for everyone depending on a whole host of circumstances.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be muddled down into one type of process. I think the end goal should be whatever you can do to get sober, and if that's what you want, then do that.
And I think also one thing we've had conversations about is that the definition of sobriety for people means very different things, right? If heroin was someone's drug of choice, and now they are using marijuana or cannabis, some people would say, oh, well, that doesn't mean that they're clean or that they're sober. That person might argue, hey, look, me using some edibles is a very different quality of life than when I was using heroin.
Yeah, and I think we really need to stop stigmatizing people for finding alternative routes. The pure definition of addiction is someone craving a chemical change in their brain. And that can be achieved with things that aren't substances. That can be achieved by exercise. That can be achieved by sex. It can
gambling,
be achieved,
right? Yeah.
Like there's not like if you want to go down that deep dark rabbit hole, everyone's an addict. They're addicted. Everyone is addicted to something.
Sugar, caffeine,
I mean,
whatever.
We all are.
Right.
I mean, I've had to limit myself on caffeine when I came sober because I was drinking so much that it enlarged my heart.
Yeah,
I was drinking 4 or 5 energy drinks a day. So I've limited myself to 1 energy drink and 1 coffee a day, and I've done that for the past year.
I love that we can have these kinds of conversations about about what addiction means and maybe the evolving landscape around substance use disorder. And you, and of course, Elvis, my boyfriend, were huge, I would say, champions of the One Box, which is that box that APC is giving out to businesses and restaurants, and it's public facing, and it's a way to get Narcan. And in some cases, we're even putting fentanyl test strips in.
Yeah.
And you were like, we have to get this at Avondale. Doesn't mean that we have an issue at Avondale. It means we are a venue, a large venue. We need to be making this a public service. But then you also like opened the doors to a bunch of other places. Why was that such a you really took a stand and you were like, we need to get this here?
Well, I think it's for two reasons. First is like Narcan needs to be destigmatized. Even someone could accidentally take something they don't know what they're taking, and it could be useful. And honestly, like the whole persona of, hey, we don't want that in our business because it makes us look bad. I'd rather look bad and save someone's life than not and still have my posh looking like business. That's dumb. And second off, I view it as just as essential as a fire extinguisher.
Right.
Like what is like when we were putting fire extinguishers in businesses, where they're like, oh well, you might have a fire, but you might not. You could have this.
This doesn't really go with the look.
Yeah.
This fire extinguisher really ruins the mood.
Yeah, like we're kind of doing like a black and white aesthetic and the red. I mean, but it's the same concept. So like, wouldn't you rather have something there to help you prevent a situation than not, and then worry about someone's death on your hands? I just don't see it. And I feel like as humans, we have to take care of each other. And if one person's not going to, another one will.
Right.
You just have to give them the tools. I'm an advocate for giving people tools in life because they're very useful. And
you don't always have to use the tool with every job, right? Like you don't always need a Phillips screwdriver. Sometimes you need a hammer and sometimes you need a wrench, but you at least have it on you. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so you're a business owner that...
Small, very small.
It doesn't matter. You're a business owner that through your business is also helping equip people with some life-saving tools. Yeah. Talk about, you have an event coming up.
So I have a clothing company called Not Famous. The F is a 5. We started in 5 points.
Not famous, but the F is a 5. Yeah. And where do you get these things?
So I do all the screen print. I do all the screen printing. My business partner Nichole Magnuson, he does all the designing.
And you can get them on a website or something.
You just hit us up on Instagram, and we'll get you anything that you need.
Okay, all right.
But we've actually it's evolved into something more than just a clothing company at this point. Honestly, I started this business because I needed something to do with my time after getting sober, because I felt like I was just spinning my wheels so much. So I honestly just did this as like, hey, how do I figure out how to run an LLC? How do I figure out how to separate this stuff and maybe try to help myself out in the long run? And maybe I can make this this is something I can pass on to my son. And like, I started thinking more about tomorrow Anthony than I did about today Anthony. But
Ronnie's going to use that clip for like the promo. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Thank you. But yeah, it's turned from a clothing brand into, now we've started doing things, call it a performance collective. So
performance collective.
Me and a bunch of my buddies are DJs around town. And I won't mention some names because it'll get them in trouble, but some of them can't perform under their names because they have agents and they have like bookings and stuff. But they would still like to come out and play with us at certain events. So we've made it to the point where you can perform under the moniker Not Famous.
Not Famous.
And it's just, it doesn't matter who you are, you can come and play. And we've thrown a bunch of successful events. We did Halloween last year at Plaza. We did New Year's at Plaza. We've done we just did Lumacy October 10th. We are in big partners with Sam Macca, who does Sam Macca Sounds, who's amazing. He provides any and everything that we need to make the show visually and audibly great. We have another show coming up on Halloween upstairs at Avondale. We're doing like the official after party for 3 different shows that day. So,
And what do you provide at all of these shows?
we usually have Dance Safe Birmingham come in, so it's basically like a testing and Narcan booth that you can come and do what you need to do.
So Dance Safe, if people don't know, that's a huge provider and source of the fentanyl test strips.
Yeah.
And they're on site for Narcan because this music is like EDM,
Yes,
is that the moniker?
It would loosely be classified as EDMs. It's usually on the heavier side of dubstep and stuff like that. But
That's what you were reading my mind. That's what I was going to say. But that genre is frequently associated with.
Oh yeah, it's a party drug.
It's a party drug, right? And so what you all have decided to do though is to like equip people with the tools and to make it as safe as you can. I mean, you're not drug testing people before they walk in the door, nor would you ever want to, but you're creating an environment where people can have fun and be safe.
We're trying to create a safe environment for people to come in and enjoy that music, because it's not the drugs for me that I enjoy about that scene. It's the music.
And the connection, right? As everyone's dancing and as
Yeah.
the beat drops.
Yeah. But yeah, it's about a lot more than that, and I feel like we have to curate our events as well. Like, if we know someone's a problem and is doing things that we don't agree on, we just don't.
Yeah.
We don't want to promote that type of person at our event.
Right. But like when we were, I mean, we talked for a long time about places that you felt there would be a real desire and passion to have a one box.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have a whole list of you were just like, how about this place? How about this place? How about this place? I'll connect you with this person. I'll connect you with this person. And as I was going out to these places, and I'm still, we're still not finished with this initiative at all. We just ordered like 100 more boxes. So it's really exciting.
That's awesome.
But I shared with you that I felt like, in a way, when I would go out and I would talk to bars and clubs, there would be almost like a mini therapy session with folks who said, I had a client or I had a customer who used to sit at this space in the bar and now they've passed away and they're no longer here. Or I had to be revived with Narcan. Or, there was a bad batch of something and 6 of my coworkers all fell out at the same time. And I shared with you that, like, there's a lot of feelings and emotion behind what folks in the industry have seen. And I don't really know if we're doing the best job that we could be doing as a community to get those folks support.
I don't think we are. And
I don't know what that answer is, right?
I don't
and
either, because I feel like the community is broken up in factions, and it's almost like the service industry usually has taken care of itself, like, internally. And I feel like nowadays it's harder for that to happen, because I do feel like there are some systemic problems in the service industry, even when it comes to, like, pay and stuff like that.
Access to health insurance, all of those kinds of things.
I also feel like a lot of ownership is rewarding good works with substance. And, like, even if it's, okay, you did a great job, how about we all take shots at the end of the night? Or let's all go out and get trashed. And, like, it seems like a slippery slope to me. Like, I understand the camaraderie part, but I don't think it's the healthiest lifestyle. Because at one point in my life, I had coming off 8 months sober. I was drinking again, and I was drinking like maybe a beer, maybe 2 beers, and I was really testing to see if I was actually like an alcoholic. And 2 years ago, from that moment to when I quit, and I was pounding 16 shots a day. Like, you don't know how someone's going to react to all that stuff. So I feel like removing peer pressure out of it, especially from the ownership standpoint, it should be something that needs to start all around. Like, I don't think that people should be rewarded like that. If you're going to reward them, give them a bonus. Give them a $20 bill. Let them decide what they want to do with it. Don't offer them something that you say costs money as a reward that's just going to change and alter their mindset.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that. We've talked about pay. We've talked about the fact that, the hours are...
Oh, they're horrific.
Right. And like when you get off at the end of the night, everyone else is going to sleep, but you're still awake and you're like ready to start your day. Like it's just the physical demands of the job. I don't think a lot of people realize the physical demands of being in the service industry, being on your feet, having to deal with customers all the time. Like so there is a reason why the restaurant and service industry is one of the hardest hit by overdose. I mean, there are factors just like the construction industry.
Oh, most definitely. And also you have to think like bartenders are most often or not are the people that deal with you on your worst day.
Yeah.
People don't really realize that like
that is so true. I've never thought about that.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to stop someone from crying or kick someone out because they're trying to fight someone.
Yeah.
Like it's...
And then they're looking at you.
Yeah, like it's
right, and then
for answers that we don't have.
And then you're having to deal with a lot of that stuff because you're like, I don't know, I'm trying to deal with my own shit. Like, how do I deal with everybody else's?
Yeah. I've always said that it's a natural progression on someone's worst day. It starts with bartender, goes to nurse, ends with cop.
Man, you're just full of these little one-liners.
But I don't know. Like at some point, you just have to start compartmentalizing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know about anyone else, but as a bartender, it's gotten to the point where it's worn on me so much I don't want to continue doing it.
Right. Well, I mean, it is demanding in a lot of different ways, and there's usually kind of a lifespan, right?
Yeah.
To be behind the bar. Unless, to your point, then you stay in the industry, but then you are able to move up to management or to some other things or to branch off, like what you're doing. So you're still very much in the entertainment industry.
Yes. So I feel like I moved to Avondale Brewing Company in right after COVID, and when I started there, I wasn't sober. I think I got about 6 months in when I started. It was like, all right, I need to chill out. Which that place helped me a lot because it gave me things to do. And I started just diving real deep into like logistics of the brewery and as a venue. And just
it's cool like how many other jobs there are at that just particular venue. Like there's folks that are in merchandising, there's folks that are in ticket sales, there's folks that are in like social media and communications and ops, and there's to your point, there's a lot of opportunities.
Yes, and there's always something that's changing. It's an ever-changing landscape over there. I mean, but that's growth though. We're constantly expanding, trying to get better, faster. Like I don't know many places in Birmingham that could handle the amount of volume we do with the amount of staff that we do. And it takes pride. I take pride in how well Avondale does because I feel like I have a lot of hours there that have like proven to make it work.
And there's been supportive management is what
I would say so is
what you said is a real linchpin to somebody staying healthy.
Yes.
Right, is to have a supportive workplace culture.
Yes,
to some extent.
Definitely. Like whenever I got sober, I looked at everyone around me, coworkers included, and was like, I want to do this, and they all held me accountable, and they all defended me as well.
Right.
Like we would still go out and do things together as a group, like we would do a dodgeball tournament. And I remember one time someone getting on me about like not drinking and was just, like very aggressively trying to get me to drink. And whenever one of my coworkers heard about it, that guy got like it was not fun for him because he got cornered by about 6 of my coworkers. Like, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're not doing it today.
Wow. Wow.
And I feel like if anyone is listening to this and they're thinking about getting sober, you really need to tell the people around you. Like, those people are going to hold you accountable and actually take care of you. They care for you. You just have to tell them that's what you want.
That's right.
And I know it's a hard step, but it needs to be done.
That's right. That's right. You're incredible. Really. I mean, seriously, you were one of the first real like deep connections I made here. And I really appreciate it. The family that you are growing, the business you're growing is beautiful.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on here. If you like what you heard, and I know you did, please consider rating, reviewing, and subscribing to The Shield. Thanks again, Anthony.
Thank you.